NerdandSon.
Welcome to the Nerd and Son podcast. I am Nerd, I am Ralph.
And I'm Connor, I'm Son.
Hey, and we are here to discuss all things D&D. And we have an interesting one, which there's been a lot of discussions and everything around, but today we are going to be talking about some of the new rule changes for the upcoming D&D Player's Handbook release that comes out in September. So,
we're a little late to the party on this one, but
okay.
I derailed everything with the Star Wars stuff. So, but when people go to back listen in, since we only have like 5 listeners, when people go back to listen through the podcast, that it won't matter that we're 2 weeks late on this.
Yeah, not a big deal. So it's all good. See, we're practicing for
not
when we
do
get a lot of listeners, you know. But okay. So have you had a chance to actually go through a lot of the different videos and everything? And the reason I asked that, is my initial understanding was this is actually supposed to be released out in almost like a PDF or a text form where I can actually go through, read everything and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was actually released just in a whole bunch of videos.
I did get to watch some of them. I didn't look at the characters stuff, and I know that you're only going through. I see on the notes we're only going through like the initial like subclasses, classes and subclasses. Yeah,
because I didn't get into all the character detail because they were like releasing a new character deep dive every week. I'm sorry, every day, and I haven't really got into that because there's a whole bunch to actually go through. But,
absolutely, and they're each half an hour long. Like. Oh no!
There's a lot of fluff in their conversations.
Yeah, absolutely,
and
they take so long,
and it drags out because
absolutely. In their talking about this new edition, I liken it, and I'm gonna date stuff even further, and not like and make it a dated reference by the time people hear this. But it felt like the Starfield like announcement thing, where like Todd Howard was in front of everybody, talking about how great the game was going to be and how all the stuff, and something specific that they did in that video that I'm worried about them doing here is they listed out like all of the things that would be in the game, and they were like, oh, you can do this and you can do this and you can do this, and there's so much more to explore, right? But those were the only 3 things in the game, stuff like that, where like they talked about everything new in the game, but they made it sound like that was just a small chunk of what you'd see.
Yeah, it's because it's like, okay, we got to kind of talk around this stuff
exactly
instead of doing that, and we got to fill like an hour. So yeah,
I stopped watching. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's also too, you got Wizards interviewing somebody from Wizards, so you have this is all positive, this is great,
absolutely,
this is a wonderful change, and it's not, hey, this is what's going to go, this is how it's going to react. Now the feedback I've watched from a couple of the other YouTubers and listening to podcasts and whatnot, they got a lot more in depth with that, especially a few of them that's actually had a chance to preview the actual Player's Handbook.
Yeah.
And they've talked about some things. I know they had to sign NDAs on some things they could do.
Yeah.
But what they have been able to talk about, I kind of came up with like a list, also with listing the videos of the couple things that I kind of noticed and changes. So
yeah. But yeah, like it's it's a Wizards employee talking to other Wizards employees, right. And you can tell they might not even be in the same room, honestly, because you never see all 3 of them at one part, and like everything is cut up.
It's like Satan and Santa. They use the same letters to spell their name, and you never see them in the same place at the same time. They both wear red.
God,
I know. See? Conspiracies.
And they're turning the freaking frogs gay!
Absolutely. We got gay frogs. Oh, love it. Okay. Now, also too, because the way me and you do things is we kind of divide week by week who's going to be doing the research or whatever. And I wanted to do the research on this because I got away from the game and I have not actually played 5th edition.
Well,
so
this sounds like a perfect time to get
into it. Gave me
a
good way to actually get in there, learn the rules, learn different things going on, see what they're talking about, and actually get in and actually learn a bunch of things. Because with the game that we're going to be playing, it's going to be a 5th edition, or 5.5. I'm going to call it 5.5, even though in their videos they were talking about, no, this is just a updated rule set to kind of fixes some things and everything like that, but they said it's not 3.5 like it was to 3. Honestly,
the way they talk about this,
I went through the 3 to 3.5, and yes, that's exactly what it is.
Well, not even that, because it feels like there's not even that big of updates, right? Because it's all a lot of stuff that they've already added in. This is more like a 5.1 or maybe even a 5.2.
Yeah, like because a lot of the things that came up in
big of a release.
Exactly. A lot of the things they came up with is a lot of stuff they introduced in later books. Like for rules that came out of Tasha's book.
Yep.
And a couple other
Tasha's
things.
Culture. I've got it was the big rules updates were from Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's Culture and everything. And those were the big ones where they were like, oh, hey, this is a 5.1, and now here's a 5.2, and now they're just putting that together in a 5.2.5. Like that seems what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's the same thing they did with 3rd edition, and everything too.
But an interesting change, the difference between the shift from 3 to 3.5 and 5e to now 5.5, as we'll probably keep calling it.
Everybody's going to call 5.5.
Yeah. So I looked up the numbers. I crunched the numbers. And correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if Google's wrong. But the 3rd edition came out in 2000.
Yeah.
And 3.5 came out in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 5th edition came out in 2014, 2015. So,
and you're forgetting that you had a 4th edition in between there too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been 10 years.
Yes.
It's been 10 years and we haven't gotten an update.
No. And honestly, that is impressive when we're going through all the other stuff they're doing. I mean, there was also a long lag for 2nd edition from when it got updated from 1st. So that was around for a while. I don't know the exact years or anything on that too, but yeah, it's lasted long, which actually kind of explains why it's very good. The rule sets are actually very good, very popular. And then also, too, you had our fun little time in early 2020s, which kind of threw a wrench into everything, and that would have extended everything out a few years.
Well, it didn't really extend. See, the thing is that it didn't throw a wrench into D&D. D&D got more popular than it ever was.
Yeah, well, it gets the popular in usage, yes, but going and doing rule changes, because this is kind of what my belief is from a company standpoint. You want to actually have updates out every so often because, that revitalizes the system. Fresh. They have to buy new books. They got to buy new updates. They're going to buy different things. So it just helps keep that revenue source.
And I think that's what, I think instead of doing a new edition, I think that's what, your Xanathar's Guide and your Tasha's did. And even, I think it's your Volo's, the second monster manual that they had, right? Where, instead of being Monsters Manual 1 and Monsters Manual 3, they had, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes and Volo's Guide to Monsters, right? Yeah. And they just added extra ones. And one of those had a bunch of character options for monstrous races. So instead of doing a big new change, new edition, changing everything, instead they did a drip feed of extra content. And instead of getting, a player's handbook 2, or 3 or 4.
Right.
You had like drip feed of like extra content, so
Mm-hmm.
you would get the book, or you would go subscribe to D&D Beyond and then get like access to those things instead of buying the book.
And I think also too why 5th edition lasted longer than what it did is they learned from 3 and 3rd edition and 4th edition, because you had all of the third-party people modifying their rules, coming up with different house rules for different systems, different games, because of those SRDs, and they got able to sit down, look at everything, see what's working, see what's liked, and then
Absolutely
incorporate that into their game. So I think that also benefited 5th edition off of everything else too. And once again, this is just my opinion, so
yeah, absolutely.
But you want to go ahead and go through some of the changes and everything?
Let me see my.
That would. Now, these are not in any kind of order. I actually kind of had to go in between some of the podcasts, listening to them, watching them, and taking notes as I went. So they're kind of all over the place. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's see.
What?
Yeah, this is. I feel like. No, we're about to get into what the thing is, so we're good. Keep going. Keep going.
You're getting sidetracked. Awesome.
I'm ready.
Okay,
so, I just got my response to your next thing like locked and loaded.
That's fine. Okay. Because one thing that they said in their opening video and stuff like that this is backwards compatible with all 5th edition items.
Yes.
So all your books and everything that you have, you'll be able to use pretty much everything like that. I mean, granted, some of the skill changes, some of the updates and everything like that, but all of the old stuff, if you wanted to, you can actually incorporate in. You might have to do some very mild modifications, but...
Absolutely. But the thing is that this is like, it seems like it's something that would be pretty hard to pull off, honestly. And like... because having like a whole separate new rule system just plunked on top of your old one, and like updating things like that, this could go wrong very easily.
It could. And one thing
it's definitely something we have to wait and see.
Well, one thing they did say is this is actually the largest player's handbook ever, and I think it was over 360 pages.
It's going to look so good on my shelf, I can't wait.
It's going to be a chunky book. And I know they've actually had to add a lot of different stuff in there because they actually took out subclasses. They took out some things on the thing, and we'll talk about that next. It's going to start out with 12 classes, and each class has 4 subclasses. Okay? Which I think in the original player's handbook, there was 6 classes for the wizard, a couple extra classes for the fighter, I do believe. So they kind of cut everything down to 4.
I believe there's 3 for each.
So
I believe there's 3. I can go double check that.
It might be just a combination to get new ones through different books.
That is exactly because Tasha's and Xanathar's all had like extra subclasses for certain.
Okay.
So you ended up having like 6 per class. And so you ended up having a lot, and so now they're trimming down from that.
Right, so, which is not a problem. That's just on there, and I'll just rattle through them here real fast. So, Barbarian. The subclasses, it got Berserker, Wild Heart, World Tree, and Zealot. Okay? For Bard, they have Dance, Glamour, Lore, and Valor. For Cleric, they have Life, Light, Trickery, and War. For Druid, they have Land, Moon, Sea, and Stars. That's Airbender shit right there.
Yeah.
Last Airbender.
I would assume the monk would be the last Airbender shit.
Well, yeah, it's just but theirs was a little bit differently. When I just read that, I'm like, that's exactly what that is. Okay. For Fighter, they're going to start out with Battlemaster, Champion, Eldritch Knight, and Psy Warrior. For Monk, we have Mercy, Shadow, Elements, Open Hand. No Drunken Master, but that can be added easily.
Well, I feel like the reason they did that, I mean, unless you want to get into these, like we can just talk about these point by point.
No, I think
Drunken Master probably has some very negative connotations to it, like the alcoholic and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
but it's such a classic style character.
Yeah, but I mean, and maybe they have it later, or
I think it will have to be an add-on, or you'd be able to use it from previous. It's not a problem. So Paladin, we have Devotion, Glory, Ancients, and Vengeance. Ranger, we got Beastmaster, Day Wanderer, Gloomstalker, and Hunter. For Rogue, we got Arcane Trickster, Assassin, Soul Knife, and just Thief. So, Sorcerer, we got Aberrant Sorcerer, Clockwork Sorcery, Draconic Sorcery, and Wild Magic. So, which is interesting, and I will bring this up here, is Wild Magic was actually added later in like 4th edition, and having a Wild Magic class wasn't standard.
So actually, Wild Magic Sorcerer in 5th edition was standard. That was one of the opening ones. It was
because that was a newer thing that they were trying to do, especially with the Forgotten Realms. That was kind of where I feel it was kind of introduced with all the wild magic and everything on that, which was interesting. Okay, Warlock. We got Archfey, Celestial, Fiend, and Great Old One. And then for Wizard, we have Abjurer. I don't know why I just blinked right on that. Abjurer, Diviner.
Aperture Science.
Diviner, Evoker, and Illusionist.
Okay.
Now, they did have a statement when I was reading through here, which I did not understand, and I did not be able to research even farther. But it talks about species and background are each half of pre-class.
Yeah, so I know what they're getting at when they're talking about that, right? What they're getting at is that species and background are having a bigger impact when you're making your character, so that they're more involved, so that they feel more impactful.
Okay.
Instead of being a side thing that you just don't even worry about.
Okay.
Because that's been a thing, right? It doesn't matter. Like, that's all flavor, that's all fluff. But they're trying to talk about like having mechanical things happen depending on your race and your species and your background. And and the reason they're doing that is because of Pathfinder 2. Pathfinder 2 has one of the craziest character builders that you have. Like, it is out there. It's really good.
Okay. See, I've not done Pathfinder 2 on that too. And since I didn't have 5th edition, it was kind of things I've been really researching and trying to actually take care of and figure out.
Which I think is a really interesting thing, is to see, like, as somebody who didn't play 5th edition, to just be, it's like you're just treading water. You're like trying to stay afloat, where you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
on some things, yes, but I'm catching on really, really quick. So,
well, it is pretty simple, but yeah, it is. It's the same game, pretty much. It
is just some terminology, some rule changes, everything else like that. So that's not a problem. So, let's stay in here. Okay. Now, last thing I want to do is talk about in the backgrounds, okay? They list 3 ability scores that you can have, okay? And also, you get to choose for points. You can either do a +1, +1, +1, or a +2, +1 on these. And adding those to your ability based on your backgrounds.
Yep. So usually your background wouldn't do much it might give you +1 in ability score or something, but instead now, because of background has a bigger effect, now it gives you 3 ability scores, of which you can choose a +1 in all of them, or a +2 and a +1 to be distributed, which is actually really nice. I kind of like that overall stuff. So I'd probably just immediately, I would also give a homebrew. I might go, well, if they're doing that, why not a +3 in 1?
So, okay. But that for basically characters and stuff like that, on that kind of creation and stuff. So, Go into just a couple of the other rule changes here, and we'll start off and we'll talk about potions. And I don't know,
Yes.
I might not be a positive person on this. Potions take a bonus action to drink instead of a full action.
Yes,
Okay.
this was a very common homebrew rule.
So, to me, I have no problem with it taking a full action.
Yes, but you are also a very combat-focused, right, tactical DM.
And I'm
so
also, too,
sense.
is you got your turn in the round. In your turn, you can do something in 6 seconds. Okay, if you do a bonus action, movement, stuff like that, taking a potion, pop the cork, drink and stuff like that. You've used most of your stuff.
Get with the times, old man.
I know, but that's kind of the different things like that. I like the idea for, oh my god, I just got hit. I got to take I got to move out of the way, and I got to drink a potion to heal myself, or otherwise I'm going to be down. Different situations that would be very, very helpful for. But my game style is also very tactical.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That'd be kind of up in the air to actually play that one.
Absolutely. But it's one of those things where that, like, you have a more casual player base, right? This is the most expansive edition where not expansive in like terms of like content, but expansive in terms of like the cultural impact of this edition. And with that, you don't have those hardcore players who are coming from a more wargaming scene where D&D gets its roots. Instead, you have more fluffy and like you have more casual players.
Yeah.
And so this is something that has already been implemented by almost every single table. Because
and also
it is
my table that I played in and stuff like that, we started with the basic edition, second edition, very tactical before we got into even 3 and 4th edition. So yeah, that's just going to be a
absolutely.
change. I mean, it's not going to be a hard change. It's just going to be a little bit different. So some of these things where I'm like, okay, that kind of makes it too easy.
Which of course, right? Because every rule in any of these games is a suggestion. So if you prefer, you could just turn it back to being a full action, and like that's fine.
Yeah, screw you all.
The other
full action,
right? The other thing that this made me think about is that, like, my initial, upon hearing this, I was like, well, this could have been just a really small change. And, like, if everybody was doing it already, right, if we had a digital rule set that could be, this got me thinking, like, my immediate thought was, like, Warhammer. Because, like, Warhammer should just be digital rules. We shouldn't, like, because by the time a codex comes out, like, it's already out of date. And so, like, it's been a historic problem, and like that is something that I immediately thought of. I had that initial gut reaction of like, well, why aren't these rules just digital? Like, why can't you just have this thing? But I mean, they really do, honestly. Like with D&D Beyond.
Yeah, you're gonna have that. You get your updated changes and everything like that. So yeah, that's actually true.
And another thing is that, like, if everybody's homebrewed the rule already, that's it. Like, it's already done. The fix has already happened. Yeah. So,
and honestly, that's kind of my belief and stuff like that is since we can do homebrew stuff and we watch other people, we see other different campaigns, we talk on different chat groups and different Discords. So we already have this in discussion. I don't think I need a digital PDF release from Wizards to tell me that this is going to be the choose. So that's why I have no problem waiting until 10 years until a new book comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is that it's ultimately a different thing, right? Because with wargaming and like Warhammer, right, when they update a rule, this is the rule now. There's no changing it. This is what it is. And so that's why you can have things be out of date upon being released.
Excuse me, DM. It says right here, it is a bonus action.
Actually. Yeah, exactly. And so this was like my thing. And while they were talking about this, I don't know if you noticed this, but they kept bringing up a new focus they were talking about they were focusing on the tactical aspect of the game and the tactics, and like they kept bringing up tactical rules and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But then in the same breath, they would turn around and go, well, we've put a new focus on outside of combat, and like we've done a lot of things to like, do this, but also like we've dealt with the tactical aspect of everything, and like it's like
which
they
want to
have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's a lot of changes. Not everything has to be implemented, but there is a lot of different changes, and we can talk about tactics because I'm not 100% sure. I kind of like one of the changes they have. I understand things, so this might have to be something to adjust in our home game or whatever. But we'll get when we get to that. Yes. Okay, so next one I have noted here is creature appendix is bigger, including all the mounts and familiars, enhanced options, and druids have now selections for stuff.
Yeah. And they referenced that in order they did this, like this is in the player's handbook, so that players can just grab the player's handbook and they don't need to flip between the different books.
Yeah.
That's a great change. That's amazing. Honestly, that is a great thing. And it's just like the bonus action change to the potions, right? It is a very player centric, and it's like, we hear you, we're listening, and that is ultimately a really good thing. And I can't like that. It's great, because I hate having to have 3 books at the table to sit there and like flip between and like, But
I'm used to that great. With my tabs all over the place, and
absolutely. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't flip between books. If I need a stat line for something at the table at that moment, that's what I got this for.
Yeah, but some of us were playing before you had the cell phones and doing all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, but get with the times, old man. Like,
I can just go. Are still good,
and
habits.
Especially since there's like all this stuff. Like since every single stat line is on this little brick that has more computing power than what got us to the moon. Like
your basic calculator has more power than what got us to the moon.
Yeah, but it's still impressive.
Yeah, it's a weird stat, and they were going, "Oh, some of our calculators do everything." But no, just a basic +1 +2 calculator. More technology in that thing than what was on the actual Apollo.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So now this was something I had to actually look into, and one thing I guess when I was going through some of the notes and some of the discussion about that, people were kind of unhappy with how this was originally written, and they kind of like the update or the expectations to the update. And basically with druids, circle the moon ability, okay? And when you get high enough level, some of the level restrictions will be gone, and you'll be able to visit the monster manual to pull out a lot more creatures than what you were before.
Because they talked about, and I don't know how they've actually done this.
I don't either, and I put in
sure.
On the notes, this is all the stuff from the actual 5th edition book. I just wrote down here, just kind of a talking points. Being able to change through, transform. But you should be able to, because one of the biggest thing is you can actually do your druid level divided by 3, rounded down. Okay? So if you are 18th level, I mean, you can only do a 6th level creature or a beast.
Yeah.
And that, to me, it kind of takes away from, I guess, fighting, needing to use it, different things like that. And those restrictions, as far as I understand, have actually been
and
a lot of it taken away.
And if I remember correctly from they were talking about, they changed like the wording, right? They changed the wording on what you can do, and they they changed up the like tag system for the like the labels for the monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, your aberrant, your beast, your stuff like that. They changed that up and allow so that like druids can turn into a bunch of stuff. Because I remember it being a thing when the D&D movie came out, they made a big deal about how the druid turned into an owlbear, and that's not allowed. That rules is written. They weren't allowed to do that.
Yes. Yeah, that was a comment I was trying to bring up, but yeah, you already did that. So yeah, exactly. So, okay. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, next one I have here is summon spells give an option of creatures summon. Okay, so you have more options to summon different creatures. Okay. Now, I'm trying to remember our rule we had, because we kind of didn't use the standard summoning spell either. We kind of modified it to be able to summon different creatures off different CRs based on your level and power and what you put into it. So, so that looks like it's going to be a standard rule there. But, okay. And the next one I have in here is, well, I was talking about there's a weapon mastery. The feats that parallels more the magic initiate feat, and then you have your weapon mastery and the different things you can do. So we can skip down and go to weapon master at this particular point. So
okay,
yeah, basically your ability score, increased strength, dexterity score.
So this weapon mastery feat that you're looking at,
yes,
that we're looking at right now, is this from 5th edition or is this from the new stuff?
This is the new stuff.
Okay.
Right. So basically what you're going to be able to do is you can go with a long rest. You can change the type of weapon that you actually want to be eligible to master for. Okay. But basically when you master the weaponry and everything like that, like for example, if you do a dagger, okay. Now, it doesn't give an example of some of these different things like here, is you would automatically, do 1.4 to piercing, plus since you're a master, you also are able to nick them. And basically what they mean by nick when I was listening to it is
it short for Nicholas? Exactly.
Oh, we're back to Satan and Santa Claus with St. Nicholas.
Oh my God.
That's a throwback. There we go. So, but basically how Nick was working from what I understood when I was listening to it is even if you miss, okay, because you're a master of the weapon, you still nick them for minor damage.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And that's really good for like, because daggers don't do a lot of damage.
Right.
So at least you're doing something no matter what. So,
and
that's always been an issue that I've had. And I don't think D&D is ever going to solve this, but like, right, once you get into higher levels and you're doing a bunch of stuff, why are you still using a dagger? You know?
Sometimes you just like them.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. But like, other than a flavor reason, like mechanically,
mechanically is horrible, but for a flavor, that's the only thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So
now, like for example, I kind of like it. I don't like it. It depends on everything like that. And I have a question, stuff like that is like, for example, bows, crossbows. Okay.
Yep.
If you fire it, okay, and you're ranging at range, it has the option, since you're a master, you can slow your target. So if you got like a barbarian charging down at you, your warrior is got 2 rounds to prep for stuff like that, or is trying to take care of something else. Your ranger in the back fire his bow, and when he hits the barbarian coming at you, he's now slowed. And that I'd have to actually, honestly, for me, see how that's going to work in battle. I like it because then that actually makes the ranger a lot more tactical in the way they're controlling the field.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it's just going to automatically slow anything that you're hitting, that me kind of takes away from what the creatures can do and do different things that way. Does that make sense?
Well, it's are you talking about taking away like the options for the creatures, or like giving the creatures a chance to like rebut that?
Yeah, or doing different things. It's like taking options away from the creature to make an interesting fight.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but this makes it interesting on the side of the players, and you should always be rooting for the players. And so this is very much that heroic fantasy.
I agree. I agree on that. And don't get me wrong that I'm anti-player and pro-monster and really hardcore rules, because I'm not. But I love situations where I can put the players in, which ultimately I know the players will survive. but I want the players to feel that there is a challenge. If the players to me
absolutely.
don't feel that there is a challenge, then they'll feel like they can just do whatever they want to, and it kind of takes the whole meaning of the game away and what actually just happened.
I see what you're saying, but there's also the whole bit of like, this is heroic fantasy.
Yeah.
If you want to give their players this is giving more players more options and more flavor to their fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, it is allowing for like a better, because previously, if you were fighting with a bow and you were sitting there and it was like it really sucked, because like if you missed or something, or if you shot him, that's all you could do. Meanwhile, you have a fighter who's like in there, they throw their stuff, they do their bonus action, like they have so many things. You have your wizard over there who's slinging spells and stuff, and
right.
there's and then you're back there with a bow just going.
Well, that's also too. Okay. You're going to have your main people. You're also going to have your secondary. It's going to be more of the supporter roles, and some people like being the support roles.
No,
so
I get it.
Depending
absolutely.
on how this actually plays out, then it's going to be if it's good or bad or what.
You've done this to us. I remember being a child, and you were playing the game.
Still a child.
And you put an enemy running away, and we couldn't do anything about it, and like we kept missing, we couldn't get to it. Like I remember that, and I remember feeling bad about that, and be like, "Damn, that sucked." Well, I didn't say that, but like. I was like that sucked. Like I wanted to get, and then but this allows you to slow down that enemy. They can catch up to it, and like that player with the bow feels like they've done something great.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Not just slow down the barbarian charging at you, but like to slow down an enemy running away, or
That's why I want to see how it's actually to be used. I just feel that that has the ability. And some of these mastery things have the ability to overpower some people and kind of get out of hand.
Overpower the creatures, yeah. But that's the flavor, and that's why a health potion takes a bonus action, is because the flavor they're going for with the setting of D&D is heroic fantasy.
Yeah.
Your heroes are more powerful than the creatures. That's just a given. Right?
I think so, because you have that kind of that mindset, and I'm going to use a very bad meme here, but as a dungeon master, I kind of like challenges. I'd rather not all the players just go, Leroy Jenkins, right in. Mm-hmm. Okay?
No, absolutely. But all you have to do is just, set up different fights, set up different, like, change up the terrain, change up the scenario, change up the creatures that are there, so that it's not just them pummeling. Like, you have to put some work into setting up a more tactical game.
Right.
And so this at least allows extra I see this as nothing but a good thing, because this is nothing but a good changing up of different weapons to feel different, because the only difference between a warhammer and a great axe was that one did
bludgeoning, the other one did
bludgeoning. Mm-hmm. Actually, I take that back. I think one did 2d6 and one did 1d8.
Yeah.
Or not one, or sorry, 2d6 and one did 1d12.
Something like that. Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll see how it's going to play out, and we can actually go from there. So, I don't know. I think it's just the way we look at it, too, because I've done 99% of mine behind the DM screen and not being a player, is I'm looking at it from my aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, and building a story and having a great story, compelling, having the players feel that there's a true challenge, and then the feeling they get for overcoming that challenge.
Yeah, but this feels more like, instead of going the top down of you want to create a challenge for your players to overcome. This is bottom up, where you want your characters to feel powerful from the get-go and then kill the monsters and feel good doing that.
Yeah, we'll see how it'll play out. And we'll try to figure out what the balance is on that too. So, Okay, so we'll go down to the next thing that we have here. Okay, is more fighting styles or more fighting style options than what was in the 2014 book. So that was just one thing they say. Feats. Basically, I guess the initial book is going to have 75 feats, including background and epic feats at level 19. And some of these are from Tasha's that have migrated over. So
I'm curious to see what these are, because as of right now, I mean, I know that a grand majority of campaigns don't go past level like 11 or 12.
They talked about that too, of basically things just going haywire after you get past level 10.
Yeah.
So, and they think with some of the balancing that they have actually done, that should help out. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully.
But that's always been an issue. When characters get that high level,
and
they start walking over stuff. And as much as we talk about not liking world-ending events, the only thing that actually becomes a challenge to the players at that level is world-ending events.
Because the other thing is that, like, it's not even, and I hate to talk about it because it's such like a backseat gamer thing to say, but like, you talk about the action economy, right? And you talk about how, if you are fighting a dragon and you have 4 level 10 characters, that is 4 turns as opposed to that dragon's 1 turn. And so you automatically have that advantage to having more options, having more skills, having more damage going in.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the issues that, and then as the players get higher level, they have more options, they have more tactical choices to make to outmaneuver the enemies, and so that allows for them to take on challenges that the design team might be by the stat block and rules as written might be like, oh, this is a challenge rating 20. But then, you get a group of level 12 characters and like they're like, oh, we can curb stomp this because we'll outmaneuver them.
Right.
So,
because when you get higher level monsters, you got to play them completely differently. You got to play them almost like players. And especially if you look at their intelligence and start actually playing that way. It's a completely different challenge for a DM. But, okay. Now, one thing I do like of the change and everything is now inspiration, okay? Now allows a reroll instead of giving you advantage.
Hang on.
Okay. Sorry about that. We had a cut and now we're back, so we'll get back into this here. And we were talking about inspiration, okay? It now allows a reroll instead of advantage, okay? And it is applied to any roll. It's including healing, damage, whatever you actually want that to be.
That's good, because
I think that's great.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? If it were just to apply to D20 things, that's just advantage, Yeah.
Well,
having 2 rolls, like, that's just...
Yeah, but here is the reason I like it as a dungeon master, is it gives the player a second chance to do something good. They still have a chance to fail, because when you would actually be given advantage, or in the previous editions where you would be given so many points to add onto your roll, when you get higher levels, that just means, oh, you're just never going to fail. I'm just going to give you inspiration. And that kind of takes the challenge and the roll of the dice out. And to me, I love the roll of the dice. Is that going to be a 1? Is that going to be a 20? You have no idea, and you're kind of on the edge going, it has to be above a 7.
Could you imagine how awful it'll be when you are rolling a D8? You go to roll a D8, you roll a 2, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna use an inspiration to re-roll this, and then you roll a 1. Like, that's gonna suck. I love that. I love that so much. Suck,
but it gives you a second chance above and beyond instead of just being one roll. Absolutely. So I kind of like the whole thing. So, okay, so that's great. Okay. Now, next thing they were talking about is character creation chapter now has a table to show which backgrounds enhance which class is the best. Okay? Instead of you just randomly coming up with it. So I don't know if honestly I like this or not.
Well, because there was already a synergy. Well, there was already an unspoken synergy.
Well, you're always going to have the synergy, but this kind of leads to people that just want to min-max.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But this allows people to go, okay, this is my best advantage, and like if you have a min-maxer at your table, like you can plan around that, you can work with that, you can talk to them about it, like this is something that you have to talk to your player about and like talk about like, oh, this is but there was already a synergy there. There was already like, if you want a mechanical advantage, you go for this background for this class to give you an advantage in certain things, and it allowed for and undoing this and go doing this just goes instead of having to go back and forth and be like, well, what works with this? Does this actually work? Does this actually like this goes okay? Here, this just no guesswork, no like referencing two parts of the book. You're just like, this is the best class.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this really doesn't change much at all. So I mean, take it or leave it. But yeah, that is one thing they don't change. So
I think this, because like if you want to be a wizard, you want to be an acolyte. Or did you catch when watching those interviews? Did you catch how he pronounced acolyte?
No.
He kept saying like acolyte.
Oh.
And I hated it. Every single time he said it, I was like, ugh. Acolyte.
I don't know. Hey, he could have been from across the pond. He could have been from someplace else. That's the way they did it. I don't know.
Even they say acolyte. That's the right pronunciation.
Okay. And I'm the last person to make fun of anybody pronouncing anything incorrectly. So I ain't saying a word. So now
I will.
Now, this is one thing that you like, I know, or will like, that I don't really care for. Me and you've had a long discussion and argument against this. Or back and forth. But now there is guidelines for starting at 3rd level or other levels as provided. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, and skipping the first base level and everything like that, too. So,
yep.
I don't know.
I know you don't like it, and like if you're doing a big long campaign that's going to last several years, that's like you are starting this and this is going to last for a long time, absolutely start at 1st level and move on. But generally, a lot of times you are going to play a one-off, a couple games, a couple sessions, and just hopping in and starting at 3rd level, 5th level, 6th level, 10th level.
Yeah.
Like that is it allows for that, which 3rd level in 5th edition is generally where you have like that's where your class, like you get to pick your subclass, right? And like that's when you get to like actually do what your character wants to do.
Which also too, I mean, why I think I can see where it comes from. But when we wanted to play just a one-off game, I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to actually play X game, okay? It is for 10th through 14th level characters. Let's make everybody 12th level. Bring your characters next week. Okay. That's kind of the way we did it.
Absolutely. And this just gives you guidelines and gives you like numbers so that you're like, because how they have the different like stat upkeeps and stuff at separate levels. And so this will just be like, hey, do this instead of like going through the book. And that I'm assuming that's maybe it doesn't, maybe it does, you know, but this seems just like a helpful guide because like most people start at 3rd level in 5th edition.
Yeah. If I'm going to play with a table that's going to be a long campaign, I want people to start out at 1st level. Yes, they're going to have an idea that they want to, this is what I want my character to be. But I've also found out in playing and character growing level by level, that might not be ultimately what they want, and they kind of change their path depending on how they feel and everything like that. And I kind of like seeing the growth of the character by the player instead of going, this is exactly what I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. That's just me. Okay. So.
Yeah, no. It's just when you're just starting out. Because I don't know, in third and in 3.5, did you get your subclass like right off the get? Right, like right off the go?
You got your prestige classes depending on what class you wanted and making the prerequisites. Okay, so you would actually have to hit a prerequisite to be able to qualify for a certain prestige class. So
yeah, but I'm talking at level 1.
You might take you to 6th
off
level.
The jump. I'm talking off the jump. I'm not talking about prestige classes or anything. Off rip, you start out. Are you able to get your subclass and like your abilities as that class? Like
they didn't have subclasses. They had other things that you can spec into, but they don't have like basically subclasses in 5th edition. Read to me like prestige classes did in 3rd and 4th. Okay. That's the best. That's the way they read to me.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is just because the thing is right in 5th edition. Before you hit, 2nd level in some, 3rd level in most, before you hit that level, most of the classes feel like you're playing a free trial of that class.
Yeah.
You're getting the basic features. It doesn't feel as good. You don't have the flavor that you're going for. It is a very basic. If it were a phone app, it would say light at the end of it. Like you're playing Sorcerer Light, and like it's just. It doesn't feel as good. Like I will say, under third level, D&D 5th edition does not feel good to play.
Okay,
it is
well,
very. It is a good tutorial. It's a good tutorial to like, ramp things up and teach people as they go and like learning the game and like introducing to more systems and stuff. It's good for that.
I don't know. I like it, and because the way I've always played it and used it to kind of grow, but also too, I'm used to if you wanted to do your subclass in say 3.5, depending on which one you want or what you were going for, you could get that maybe at 3rd level. Or you have to wait to 5th level. Or some of them, if they were really hardcore specific, they might be something you have to spec into at like 8th or 9th level. Okay? But you have
still
to hit
got
the
your class abilities.
But you would still have your basic class abilities.
Yeah.
So
like you get like 1 or 2 at the beginning, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And like when you're playing 1st and 2nd level, your goal is to quickly get to 3rd level. You are leveling up very, very fast.
Yeah.
In order to like milestone leveling very, very fast. Like you're doing like 1 or 2 sessions as 1st and 2nd level.
Usually you can get 1 or 2 sessions and you'll be 3rd level. Yeah, because you ramp up really quick. Sometimes in the same session you can go to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level. Okay. And that's another thing too that I always found starting to 1st level too, because not necessarily your party members have actually all played together or meshed or figure out how they want to play off each other. And that can actually change the decision, the way they want their characters to be ultimately. Because you could have 4 players that go, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. And when you finally get up to a higher level, those classes do not mesh. And players will naturally go to a leader, support, or main on how they attack things. They always fall in those kind of categories, and they kind of do that naturally. So I kind of let that naturally happen. So from the way I see it and the way I run the games, that's kind of why I do it that way. So
I get you. I can see why you do it your way, and I feel like if you played out 5th edition again, if you played out 5th edition and you saw how 5th edition works, you would go, I see why they're doing this. I see why this happens.
We'll see. And we'll be doing that, especially here soon, especially with the books coming out and everything else. Okay? Now, the last note that I have in here that we want to go into, which is very, very positive when I was looking at the feedback from this, is the adrenaline rush from the orc now recharges on a short and long rest.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. instead of having to wait and only use certain amounts or certain times and stuff like that. They actually do that, so which is nice. The other thing that I started to put a note on here, but I almost took out, is because I don't have the details on this, and I didn't actually watch that video or listen to that video yet. But basically, the crafting rules, okay, for Magic, limited to potions and scrolls. So I don't know.
I did watch the crafting rules video.
Okay, cool. So you can speak to this.
You want me to tell you about it?
Yeah.
Exactly what you have here. I think you can do armor and stuff too. You can do equipment.
You should be able to do equipment and everything else like that to craft.
But that's the rules. And they had this whole big long video about it for something that I would bet you will take up a page of the book. Like it doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot here. It's just downtime rules. And it's just one part of downtime rules.
Yeah.
But it's just something small that they're adding, and it feels like they're making it like such a big deal when it's really just something really small.
The other thing too in the games, which I like, okay, and we've kind of done, but most time we didn't really. They just kind of purchased stuff and found stuff. We didn't really go in the crafting, but I like the idea of the crafting, not necessarily the time it takes for the upper level stuff, but the custom stuff and the ingredients that you actually need and your materials that you have to get for it. I like that instead, because then you have to actually quest and obtain this certain thing to bring back, and then the wizard can go, ooh, take it and then craft it, and not wait like some of the older editions, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that until it's done. I can understand higher level stuff take longer, but I'd rather spend that time in the players acquiring the specialty item than to sit around and do something else just waiting on a timer.
I see what you're saying. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully it's something better than that. I do not imagine it being anything more than, oh, you grab your stuff, you grab the stuff that while you're questing, and then you go and like you wait for a timer to end, and then you've crafted it.
Yeah.
And like hopefully it's good, but it's something that I don't have interest in. It is something I am happy it's there. I'm happy that they've made something like this for the players that would want this.
Yeah, well, yeah. But to me, it's more of learn be campaign arcs, different things like that, and how can this be interwoven into the campaign instead of just a timer. So, like I said, I didn't actually read 5th edition crafting rules if they have it, or how that works or anything like that. So I didn't get time to actually... I don't think
they do. I think this is like a brand new thing that they're adding into here.
No, I don't know. Because you have to be something besides just buying, because you're going to have wizards that want to craft and create things. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay. But overall, for the Player's Handbook, those were just some of the highlights and everything I got out of that. I found stuff that people put together that upgraded from the DMG and also the Monster Manual. But I figured I'll just wait until we get more information and they start talking about that.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think a lot of it's still speculation.
Yeah. One of the things I also heard, I also listened to and picked out when they were talking, is that they were cutting words out of spells and stuff, and they were like trimming down the fat of the spells.
Yes.
Instead of like a big long word, they were like cutting it down, changing how the like keywords worked and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's good, because there are some like the sleep spell, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around when you first read it.
Yeah. Well, the other reason that they're actually doing that too is now, and it's something I'm learning, because like, for example, I'm old school. I like my hardbound books. The rest of you youngins like your Control F and do your quick search. 100%. And when you cut down on the extra words and stuff like that, that makes your searches a lot easier.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's a point to doing those things too, which is fine. I got to learn. I'm in the process of learning. Don't want to learn it. I've already learned enough shit in my life. But, yeah. All right. You got any other comments on the Player's Handbook initially?
Yeah, I actually was thinking about this, and between like the last time we talked about this morning before, and like thinking about the stuff that we were talking about, and like really mulling on it as we sat here, I had a change of heart, because initially I was annoyed. I was like, this is dumb. These changes are stupid. Like I said, right? They can't have their cake and eat it too. You can't have a fluffy social focused game while having, focus on the tactical and stuff like that. Like you can't have that. Like you pick one and you go for it, and you need to have a focused vision for like the things that you're trying to do. But then I realized that D&D is the, what's the word? It's the template. It's the introductions, baby's first RPG. That's how it's always been, right? It's the big player in the game. It is the one for you to get into. And so having a more loose, unfocused vision, and having like a little bit of everything. You've got your buffet style of like, you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and like as much as you want to eat. And I think that's great. Honestly, I think that is great as a starting, it's great to start out, and then you can have people get into it, and if they like that, if they like that little bit of everything, then that's good. But like, if they go, oh, well, I don't like this bit, but I like this bit, you can find other games that, like, other people have done that and designed games around, oh, I like this thing. I like this tactical combat. I like this social stuff. I like the crafting. There's a game that comes out this year. I don't know if it came out already, but I talked about it in one of our episodes where I was like, because it was based on, like, you're going out killing monsters to bring back and cook them. And, like, that's like that crafting system that they're talking about. That could be something like that. And like, it's good. It's good that they are trying to do a little bit of everything, because that introduces people to the wide breadth of stuff that can happen.
Yeah. So, my son has a change of heart, which is normally different from when you call me mid-time during the day. I already know it's starting to be a rant.
Yeah, normally, yeah. It's like, normally because, like, I can't talk to anybody else. I don't have anybody else I can just be like, I'm mad right now. I'm upset at this one thing. And then, like, that was before. And we've had a lot of those discussions. Because I would get caught up, especially when I was on Twitter. And I would just get caught up in something going on. And I would be like, that's what I would stew on. And I have really unplugged from that kind of stuff, because it was just really toxic and, like, getting me, like, just heated up about stuff, and, like, can't live my life like that.
Yeah, I can't and I'd even heat you up more.
Yeah,
because like, I'd give you my old man
perspective. Because I would go for it.
I'd give you my old man perspective. And you're like,
and then like
understand. It's like, yeah.
Then instead of sitting there and going like, I can see why you have this perspective, I would be shut up, old fogey. Like, you don't know what you're.
Yeah. You don't know what I'm talking about until you get to the experience of my age, and you're like, fuck, he knew what the hell he was doing. All right, that's the fun of it. Okay, so. Let's go ahead, and something we haven't done in quite a while because we were on the same stuff for the longest time. Let's do our encounter corner. Okay? Woo! Don't read ahead, please.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I haven't opened it yet.
Okay, so, yeah, I moved it all the way down farther than the bottom to try to catch you before you did that. Okay, so, our encounter corner. We are on letter O. Okay. So, letter O is going to be a robbery gone so very wrong. Okay. Now, the players. While traveling, overhear a commotion just over the ridge. Okay. When checking out the area, they see a campsite that has a 4-horse-drawn wagon that's like a dual wagon. Okay. The second wagon has a huge cage on the rear covered by a large tarp because you can't see anything along it. in it or anything like that. Nothing moving, no sounds or anything like that too. Okay, alongside the wagon, okay, is almost like a circus type banner, okay, with the writing saying Olaf Oakbeard, traveling beast tamer.
Okay.
Okay, so you kind of get the idea that this is like part of a circus, something like that. That's basically the feeling and everything goes off. Okay. Now, the noise that you actually heard is from a group of what looks like bandits that have a bearded dwarf held by sword point. Okay? So that's the robbery in progress. Okay? Olaf is claiming that he has no money to be taken. Okay? Now, this is the interesting thing, depending on what goes on and how it takes, so that there's arguing back and forth. Okay? The players, if they intervene, which most likely they will, okay? The bandits themselves actually kind of freak out, okay? And the one point in the sword actually just runs his sword through the dwarf, okay? Trying to, right before he escapes, okay? The players, they either take care of the bandits, let them go doing whatever they want to, okay? But when one person goes over and tries to heal, because you're going to have a healer in your party or something like that, hey, I'm going to try to heal the dwarf while you guys take on the bandits, okay? The dying dwarf looks into that player's eyes, and in his last breath, he says, I'm sorry. Run. Okay? And dies. Okay? So that kind of sets up like, what the hell? This is all the different stuff. A lot of stuff was kind of going on, okay? Now, as soon as the dwarf dies, okay, you all of a sudden hear a large roar, okay, from underneath the tarp, okay? And you see that cage area, the stuff that's covered up, just start rocking, okay? As soon as the tarp falls away, an owlbear is revealed, okay? A pissed off owlbear that is breaking out of his cage, okay?
Wonderful.
A quick perception check, okay, reveals that the cage was covered in ruins that secured the creature and muted all noise around it. So the owlbear couldn't hear anything, you couldn't hear the owlbear. Kept him very calm. With the dwarf dead,
the runes are gone.
The runes have no power anymore. Okay? Owlbear attacks. So it just adds on to adds on. Okay.
Especially if, you have your fighters away and you have your support in the back. This definitely creates an issue.
Yes, it does.
An immediate issue.
Immediate issue, okay? Now, depending on what actually happens, assuming the players handle the owlbear and everything like that, okay? Now they have a dead dwarf, they have a dead owlbear, and they could be surrounded by dead bandits. Don't know. Or the bandits could have got away. Don't know. Okay. Here's the additional things you can have with this encounter, okay? Besides it just being like, oh shit, just getting worse and worse and worse, okay? As for a side quest, they could actually find some letters written back and forth to his wife and child, and maybe they want to return the remains that belong, and his belongings to them, okay? There's something nice they might want to do, okay? After the battle, here's another thing, okay? Armed soldiers could find them, and now you have to prove that you were not for blame for the robbery. Okay?
That's true.
Yes. So, now the other thing is maybe the robbery was staged. I didn't put that in here written down, but maybe the robbery was staged by the local baron for whatever reason that he didn't like the dwarf or some kind of bad blood or anything like that. You could do something like that to add in some political intrigue. Okay?
I mean, if it's staged, then you took out the target and you took out the people who knew that it was staged. So like there's a lot of stuff going on. You've got all loose ends. All loose ends are tied up.
All right. Now, here's the other thing is the players could find an owlbear cub was left in the cage, okay? And now you got to figure out what to do with it.
Well, of course you're going to keep it.
They're not really very good being tamed. So
yeah,
eventually that owlbear is going to
That's not what Baldur's Gate 3 taught me.
So, yeah, that could add something more interesting in that too.
And it doesn't matter how hard it is to tame, players will always want to.
Yeah,
If they are presented with a possible pet, they will take it.
Yes.
They will take that opportunity.
So you have more role-playing opportunities with that. So, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is the encounter. And I wanted to make it different enough because when you start looking how many creatures start with O, and because normally when I get a letter and I'm going, okay, let's figure out what I want to do. Let's do a list of every creature that starts with the letter, like O. It came up. I had like 7 choices. I'm like, well, shit, they don't have any creatures with the letter O besides an octopus, an orc, an ogre. I'm like, okay, I don't want something normal. I really didn't want.
But what about the orc and the pie? You could do that.
Pie is next one. You got P. I really didn't want to do owlbear, okay, because that's just like, okay, that's like a given.
It's a staple.
It is a staple.
It's a genre staple.
I decided to go with owlbear to go with the O theme because you're also dealing with Olaf Oakbeard. So, yeah. But yeah, ultimately I went with the owlbear because people do still like it. And it's always been one of those creatures that, even in 3rd and 4th edition, the players did not like running into. So, even though I'm going to assume players watch the movie and think that they're cute and cuddly now because the druid changed into it.
Because they are cute and cuddly.
Yeah, they'll rip your ass. Yep.
Okay, but like
in a cute and cuddly way.
Look at an owl. We already like owls. They're cute. They're wise. That's the thing.
Okay.
They're cute. They're cuddly. And look at a bear. Forget about the fact that it could kill you. If you look at it and you didn't know, you would want to pet it. That's why I had that little girl sitting there going like, "Can I pet that dog?"
Oh,
Can I pet that dog?
Okay, fine. I'll ask you a question then. If you were alone in the woods, would you rather run into a man or would you rather run into a bear?
Well, see, I'm fine with being with a man, but like, I completely understand why why women would not want to be next to the man.
I'm sorry, that's the stupidest fucking question. And some of the reasoning.
It's not the stupidest question. It's not the stupidest question. Because like, you don't know the intentions of that man. You know the intentions of that bear. You know?
Yeah, but
generally bears are not, unless you are, in their territory. You're not like, you can deal with a bear. You can deal with a bear. You don't know what the like.
Yeah, tell that to Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, he knew what he was dealing with, and guess what? He survived.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. So based on that and the encounter, what is your thoughts or anything on that?
I think that's definitely a good little segue. And it can definitely, like you said, there's like political intrigue that can come into there. It could just be a one-off little thing that you just like have everybody show up to, and like, of course, having that like pet aspect that could possibly happen. Like, yeah, so it's good.
Okay, cool. All right, well, that is all that I have for this evening. Do you have anything?
No. But let's say that somebody's listening and they just really like your voice and really want to just hear more of you.
One of the 5 people that actually listen?
Yeah, one of the 5 people that listen. Where can they go to get more of you?
Oh, because everybody wants more of me. I'm just so damn sexy. Okay. No, seriously. Besides this, I actually have a YouTube channel I've been doing for 2.5 years. It is growing really nicely, but it is called 13 Peppers. That's where I grow, taste, eat everything hot and spicy. I am growing 160 varieties this year of peppers, from super hots to milds. I have a couple sweet, but they're just starting to ripen now. This is actually the 11th of June. No, July. The 11th of July.
It's July.
It's July. July 11th.
Not to take the episode or anything.
Or dated. I didn't say the year. How's that? Yeah.
2024.
We're going back to the future. Okay.
Back to the Future. Didn't we already pass the future time?
Yes, we did. That would have been 2015.
Oh, see, I haven't watched it since I was a very young child. So,
yeah. Hot and spicy peppers. Love eating, tasting, everything about that. So yeah, if you're interested in that and want to see somebody in pain, go watch that channel. It's 13 Peppers on YouTube. But with that is about it. If you have any comments or anything that you want to tell us, thoughts, feelings, whatever, things you'd want to see, visit our link tree in the description. There you can actually get a hold of us on all our different channels. But other than that, I am Ralph. I am Nerd.
I'm Connor. I'm Son.
And you guys have a very, very good day.